Now that we're at a boil here, and one of the most common questions that I get asked all the time is repeatability. There's a lot of misnomers and misconceptions around repeatability, and a lot of people out there that think that you have to have a computer to be repeatable. Well, tried and true is the notebook. And if you make a note of your recipe, every nuance that you do to create that recipe, and if you take note of every step along the way, what your starting gravity is, what your mash pH is, what your temperature is, what your mash out temperature is, and if anything went wrong, if you make a note of that and you keep it in a good old-fashioned notebook, and you want to make the same recipe again and repeat it, you follow your notes. You don't need a computer or any automation to do this. Just a good old-fashioned paper and a pen and a homebrew. And so as far as repeatability, people have been recreating the same recipes in cooking and brewing for thousands of years, and they didn't need a computer to do it. They just took really good notes on what they did and were careful to recreate those conditions. And the whole other half of the equation is fermentation. A lot of people forget to take notes on the amount of yeast that they pitch, their pitching temperature, the pitching rate, and also too what's really important is fermentation temperature. And that's something that should also be noted, because all different types of yeast are going to display different characters depending on the temperatures that they were fermented at. So repeatability also has to do with recreating those same conditions in fermentation, being that that's the whole other half of the equation. And even past that, when it comes to carbonating and serving, as far as how long it stays in the secondary, how many pounds you force carbonate at, all of these different things, it's really important to take note of them in the old pen and paper style. And if you really have something that you really like, you'll be able to repeat it again if you take note of every single one of those steps that it took to get to the finished product. So that's my 2 cents on repeatability. Basically, as far as the brewing system goes, we try and keep things as simple as possible, because one of those things, the more variables that you add to the brewing equation, the more chances that there are for those variables to cause a mistake. You know, a lot of the times Murphy's Law says things can and will always fail, and this is especially true when it comes to electronics and hot liquids and fire. So, you know, on the Synergy system, super simple. We don't really have anything. I mean, we have a pump, and if the pump were to quit working, we can still make beer. And if we were to run out of propane, we could light a fire underneath this thing with some wood and still make beer. And being that we use this system a lot for cooking and canning, it's really important to have that kind of a bare bones approach to having a brewing system, is because rain or shine, power or no power, gas or no gas, we can still make it happen. And that kind of ties into the whole repeatability thing, and the brewer himself is responsible for repeatability. You shouldn't have to rely on a machine or anything else. You should rely on your own 2 senses, your notebook, and your selection of ingredients and your method for fermenting to ensure that you get the same product as you did last time, if that's what you're going for. So always have that pen and paper handy.